twice because
The Smoke Radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
good evening. Fade to Black. Bespoke Radio for the masses. Yeah, man. Today's Monday, January 6th, 2020. Just 6 days into the new year. Only 359 days left. We are live from a bunker somewhere in the middle of beautiful downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. That's right, this is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? We got a full week of Fade to Black in front of us. Our first full week of the year. Tonight, very special guest, Paola Harris. She's here to discuss UFOs and artificial intelligence and a couple of other things. We're going to get to all of that in just a bit. Tomorrow night, it's the return of Micah Hanks right here on Fade to Black. Wednesday night, William Henry joins us. What a great week ahead of us. Of course, Thursday night is another Fader night with open lines all night long. You can follow me on Twitter, simple enough, at JChurchRadio. Paola Harris. She's a photojournalist, investigative reporter in the field of UFOs and extraterrestrial-related phenomena research. With a master's degree in education, she is also a widely published freelance writer. She has studied extraterrestrial-related phenomena since 1979. From 1980 to 1986, she assisted Dr. J. Allen Hynek with his UFO investigations and has interviewed many top military witnesses. Paola's books include Connecting the Dots, Making Sense of the UFO Phenomena, How Do You Speak to a Ball of Light, Exopolitics, Stargate to a New Reality, All the Above and Beyond, and her latest book, Conversations with Colonel Corso, details the Army and Corso's role in back engineering alien technology in the Pentagon. She's also spoken around the world, including Ireland, England, Norway, Switzerland, Colombia, Argentina, Chile, Germany, and Belgium. We're going to be over in the UK later on this year, too, together. It's going to be great. And her production company, Starworks USA, produces the Starworks USA Laughlin UFOs and Consciousness conferences, and it will be coming up in November, and you can go to starworksusa.com. I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, Paola Harris. How are you, young lady? Everything good?
Everything good. Thank you so much, Jimmy. It's good to talk to you.
It's great to hear your voice. And here we are, Paola, in 2020. Pretty exciting time for the UFO community. Did you ever expect that we would get to this point? You've been doing this since 1979. We're in 2020 now. But UFOs are the conversation everywhere. Did you think it would get to this point, or were you expecting more by now?
I think I was expecting more by now. You know us, we've been working at it for so long, and it's so logical, and we've done all the science behind it and the witness testimony and all the whistleblowers, and you've talked to most of them. So I'm wondering, I really think disclosure already happened. I'm not waiting for disclosure. For me, disclosure is not the President of the United States talking about UFOs. For me, it's just that the people that do the work, homework, that read the books, that read the interviews, that listen to your show, know this is real.
Now, what would J. Allen Hynek think today? Would his perspective change? Would he be more outspoken, or would he sit back and be happy?
Well, he'd be very much like his compatriot, Jacques Vallée. When I worked with Alan, it was nuts and bolts. When we worked in the beginning, 1979, I was putting pins in maps. We were doing the nuts and bolts sighting stuff.
Right.
We've gone so far ahead in all these years that Alan was just starting to get into the paranormal or the dimensional thought of this, that the fact that we might be living in a matrix or in alternate reality. He was just getting into that, and Jacques is into that, and that he would really be happy with some of the researchers like Grant Cameron that have already gone to consciousness research. So he'd be having heavy conversations with those researchers.
Now, a lot of pilots have come forward. A lot has been made of that, and they are excellent eyewitnesses and professional eyewitnesses. But yesterday, a British astronaut, the first British astronaut, Helen Sharman, said in an interview that aliens definitely exist and are probably living among us right here on Earth. Now, that kind of statement coming from somebody with that type of pedigree says to me she probably knows something, and she's speaking out about it now. When you hear something like that coming from an astronaut, and, there's Edgar Mitchell, of course, and others, what do you make of that? Why is everybody starting to come forward today?
Well, I think she can do it because she's from a foreign country. I learned when I was living in Italy for 15 years that the whole field is different over there. It's more entertainment in the United States and a lot more scientific in Europe. And I think she had nothing to lose. Here, if you do that, I think you have a lot to lose. And God bless Edgar Mitchell for coming forth and wanting the Roswell files to be reopened. And God bless Gordon Cooper and other people, other astronauts that have come forth, other military people. Colonel Corso, for me, was my greatest interview. I'm the one that was the closest to him, and he couldn't speak here in the United States, so we ended up, inviting him to Italy, where on two different occasions he spoke much more than he ever did here. I think that if people follow these whistleblowers, what we call insiders, and they start putting things together, and they start realizing these people are risking their reputations and their lives, they'll understand that this is a logical reality. It's logical. I think it's logical. This woman is saying what I think that Stephen Hawking, a lot of other people said, we are not alone in the universe.
Now, how has your view changed? You just mentioned nuts and bolts, and certainly I think most of us start there, right, wondering what these craft are, or how they could travel interstellar space and arrive here, and what these craft would look like. There's a certain fascination with that. And you mentioned that already. How has your view changed over the years to how these craft are getting here and how they are visiting us?
Well, that's a really deep question. You asked me, it would take hours to talk about, but to be really clear, this is a dimensional reality. This isn't like they come from here to there. And I learned a lot when I was in Latin America. My research in Colombia and in Chile and in Argentina. When I was in Argentina, they were appearing in broad daylight. And I was just at the Atacama Desert in Chile, and we had a sighting that lasted 13 minutes over a group of 200 people who were meditating in the middle of the Atacama Desert. I mean, these things are there all the time. It's just that I think what happens is they have the power to appear, disappear. They decide to contact. They have all the power to do the disclosure themselves. I often wonder if disclosure is not completely in their hands. And also, if you look at the whole paranormal aspect, the dimensional aspect of what happens, the timing, all of this stuff, there is this what we call paranormal dimensional component. And it's tied to consciousness. I know that's hard for people to understand, but I really recommend it. I'm such a fan of his. I'm going to mention it over and over again. Grant Cameron is the best researcher in the field. He has gone way far away. I mean, I hope to catch up to him someday, but he explains it in a way that the layman can really understand, that this has to do with consciousness.
Well, and part of it certainly has to. It has to. I think that has a lot to do with communication, not only with us here on Earth, but out there in interstellar space. You can't have communication at the speed of light. It would take you thousands of years to communicate with each other. There must be something that is entangled at the consciousness level that allows for communication. And it could also involve moving space and space-time and getting rid of those vast distances. But here today, we're so primitive, we can't really wrap our heads around that. Science is starting to take a look at it and understanding what it would take to travel. But I think that without the science working with us, we may never understand. And certainly ET won't be able to explain the million years of development that they have undertaken to get to these technologies that we don't understand, right?
Yeah, but it's not just ET. I think that I really espouse Jacques Vallée's theory that the phenomenon is a manifestation of us, of a teaching mechanism and consciousness so we know what's possible. On one level, he says that, that it's a manifestation that's there to teach us about us. So if you want to go there, that gets really philosophical. That's why I think this whole field should be in a university. I'd love to have that conversation with professors. But then when I went to Latin America and I was in Peru, in Ancash, there is a mountain there that does have a base where space people come out of there and speak to the villagers. Because I was there shooting a movie with a Canadian film crew, Rob Freeman's film crew, and we were talking to the villagers who say that these people dressed in spacesuits come and talk to their kids at night. And we're asking the townspeople, and of course they don't want to be on TV, they don't write books, they don't have any reason to lie, and we're getting these testimonies that it's absolutely normal to coexist on a certain level with these ETs, and that the base is in Huascarán, which is literally the tallest mountain on Earth, because if you start measuring it from the bottom, it's taller than Everest. And this has been known in that area. That's why we were shooting the movie with Ricardo Gonzalez there to talk to the townspeople. So for me, who wouldn't even touch what's inside a craft because I was so afraid to deal with that when I was with Hynek, I was safe when I was putting pins in maps. For me to go from that to talking to townspeople that see beings walking into their houses and seeing them on the road is a real stretch. You asked me how I've progressed. Well, I have to listen to the witnesses.
And Jacques has been talking about this for years, that there is and must be a mechanical nuts and bolts aspect to this for sure. But if we're going to safely go into this and scientifically investigate, we have to look at the interdimensional aspect of this. There is something there that we don't understand, and we've got to apply the science, don't we? Absolutely,
and science is going in that direction. with entanglement, with quantum physics, with dimensionality. It's going there. Actually, it's catching up. So if I'm going to study this, and I'm confused, so I'm going to read a lot of books. I've read all 4 of Jacques' Forbidden Science. They're amazing books. If I'm going to go there, I've got to study it like an academic subject so I begin to understand, because I think science is just trying to catch up right now with this kind of phenomenon. My conference last year was on ESP, and we had Uri Geller, and we had Russell Targ, and we had the remote viewers, and you want to go explain that? I mean, there's people, it's short of magic. They're going, oh, this is like unbelievable. And then we go to learn that if SRI and the CIA are studying this kind of weirdness, then this kind of weirdness must be entangled in the whole entire field, isn't it?
Well, it would have to be. And the more that we look at this, this is what I'm most fascinated with, the basic of what we understand today. And what I understand is that radio and television travels at the speed of light. Our normal communicating with the moon and our astronauts on the moon, that's mere seconds away at the speed of light. That makes sense. But if we travel to the nearest star, Alpha Centauri, that's 4.5 light years away. It would take 4.5 years for communication to happen in one direction. And if you and I, Paula, are at Alpha Centauri and we need to call 911, we're going to have to wait 9 years, right? We're going to have to wait 9 years for a reply. That's not right. That doesn't do us any good.
911. That's great. Anyway, yeah. I mean, 9/11, by the way, is a very mystical number. You just use 911. The thing is that but if you use that reasoning, but what if you go through a wormhole? I mean, remember, just before he died, Carl Sagan saved his soul by putting out the movie Contact, because Carl Sagan was a confirmed skeptic. I mean, Alan talked to me about Carl Sagan. Alan Hynek did. These scientists that are working on these technologies are not about to risk their grants. And Carl Sagan was Cornell University. And then, to talk about, they know darn right well this is all real, but they can't talk about it, or they'll lose their funding to do their research. But Carl Sagan, just before he died, did Contact, and she did not travel by spaceship to wherever she went. She went through this wormhole that was created with some kind of electromagnetic field. So I always thank Carl, at the end of his life, for presenting us with an alternative.
Now, what do you make of, you've interviewed so many people in the military, and today with the Pentagon appearing to be involved in some type of disclosure, this has never happened before. What do you make of that? And are you trusting what's going on?
No, because I know the people they're talking to. One of the episodes on Ancient Aliens had this, mistaken idea that some a UFO shot down a helicopter in Caronia. I knew the guy that was on the show from Italy. I know I had just spoken to all those people. No, the problem is that when you have an agenda, and this is my official statement, when you have an agenda, the agenda is to get money for more weapons or arms or exotic technologies in case these visitations are hostile. You have an agenda. You're going to shove everything into the agenda. If they wanted to destroy us, they would have done it in 1945. That's when the whole UFOs thing changed, because the whole New Mexico, Roswell, 1945, Aztec, Corona, all that stuff that happened around the atomic bomb meant that this civilization had changed and became a little bit more dangerous. So if they were going to do it, they would have done it then. I don't know any reason why we have to raise money to, and as far as going and saying that they're real so we can develop exotic technologies, which I believe, I'm sorry, like Dr. Stephen Greer, I believe what he says is totally logical. Those technologies have already been developed. They're just being kept on the back burner. So I see the agenda first. I don't consider it any kind of disclosure because I've known, military and pilots and astronauts whom I've talked to who already know this is real.
I want to go back to this incident in Italy because I've read the conflicting stories here. And if you did speak, you spoke with the pilot? Is that who did you speak to?
No, I spoke with Petruccio. He was the admiral. In that episode, there was only one military man. The rest of them were like MUFON people. We have a group called Centro Ufologico Nazionale, and they're like MUFON people. And they were having a conference, and they invited Elizondo and DeLong and those guys to be part of their conference. And so while they were there, they were fishing for information. And the person they spoke to was a guy that I've known all my life. When I was living there, I used to have dinner with him and his wife. And he was a Navy. He was a scientist first, and then he couldn't be funded, so he went into the Navy. And he was the one. He invited me to the Ministry of the Marines in 2004, and explained to me that what was happening when those fireballs were coming out of the water was scary, but it was benign, it wasn't hostile, and nothing was shot down. And this was told to me in the Ministry of the Navy in Rome. And so when I saw him on television, I said, well, what is this? This is like for the show that he's saying that one of the helicopters was damaged. It wasn't even shot down. I mean, the pilot walked away. The blades were, they have a little bit of damage on them. And that's enough to go to Senator Reid and the Congress to get money for what? If there should be money for this kind of research, it should be given to the researchers that are doing the work, not to the military.
Why is it that not only Italy, and certainly it seems like France and a little bit with the UK and Russia, but in Central and South America, why is the military okay with the subject? And we have the exact opposite here in the United States.
Well, you ask great questions. I just love you. The reason for that, if you had been at the Congress, at the congressional hearings in Washington, D.C., that Steve Bassett put on, they were mostly people from Latin America, Uruguay, Paraguay, Chile, Brazil, because for them, which is logical, it's a matter of national security. So if you tell the people, yes, this is real, yes, we have these UFOs over military airports. Yes, they're faster than we are, and we don't know what to do about it. And that's what they all said. I was sitting in the front row when they were testifying. Then it becomes a problem that the United Nations should be handling. It's a problem where people should be getting together and brainstorming, and they're telling the truth. They have a problem with it over their airports, and mostly their military airports. There are no incidents of hostility, but when one of these things chases your airplane, like it did in Iran and Tehran with, all the pilots that gathered at the press club with James Fox and Leslie Kean, all those pilots from all over the world. I personally interviewed Jean-Charles Duboc from France, and he was in a civilian airplane. He was in Air France. He had 300 people in his airline, and the 300 people saw the UFO, and he doesn't know what to do because they're scared. So he reported it to Air France, and he came forth, and he did a great job. I spoke with him in Barcelona at a conference where there was Robert Dean, Stephen Bassett, Stephen Greer. I was the only woman, but I interviewed him there because he said, which is logical, I don't know what to do. This thing was the size of a football field. It was right in front of us. But see, I asked the extra question, Jimmy. The extra question is, over what was it? Where were you? And he said it was over a nuclear facility.
And
I said, oh, well, I mean, it's not on vacation.
And what did we do? I mean, you just brought up unidentified, and speaking about this, there is a lot of programming right now about UFOs, and I enjoy it. I really do, and I'm happy for that. And people are talking about the subject, but it's also getting a little bit distorted too, as well. And one of the things that I was taken aback about, speaking about unidentified, where they took the Tic Tac or gimbal video and distorted the picture to make it look like an outline of the classic flying saucer. Now, most of the public hasn't seen the original footage, and they don't understand that. They see that, and they assumed that it's real, right? That the image on the screen promoting this TV show is real. And it's not. And that's misleading the public at a time when we're seeming to make progress. That's the part that I feel where this UFO programming is misleading the public, isn't it?
Yeah, I didn't see it, but it's good that you bring it up. But when we look at entertainment, I think the real heroes don't go on TV. I think the real whistleblowers are not going to, take thousands of dollars and become movie stars. I think they feel like they're going to just tell the truth and then go back into the woodwork because they're like doing their duty. My own take on all the whistleblower inside testimony, I only do it because I'm trying to archive it. And I've got files and files of archives which are going to be given to Rice University. So, for me, I'm just doing it for the history so that your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren will get the real stories from the source. But what you're talking about is television. You're talking about entertainment. You're talking about the movies that are going to be coming out that have an agenda. So we can't control that. I mean, that's what can I say? I don't know if that's the main teaching mechanism. Since I'm a teacher, I'm going to talk about books. I think books should be read by the original source. All Hynek's books, Jacques Vallée's books, all the books on testimony. All the people that have had the courage to come forth and that are no longer with us. The Way of the Explorer, Edgar Mitchell's book, is amazing. It's and I've had a hand in translating all these books into different languages. Right now, I'm working on Paul Hellier's Hope Restored. I wrote the preface for it, and it's being it's translated into Italian and will come out in Italy and France. And that book, Paul Hellier's book, Hope Restored, is an amazing biography. So, I'm a teacher. I'm going to talk about books because I mark up books and keep books and, keep all this as an archive because I consider it a serious study. For me, it really is an entertainment.
How many, and we're going to take a break here in a second, but as you have looked at this with all of the witnesses and people that you have interviewed and researched over the years, how many different civilizations do you think are visiting this planet? Is it in the thousands? I don't think it's a dozen, right, or one or two.
No, do you want me to answer that now?
I do.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm very close. Maybe you don't, to Clifford Stone. And I am always close to him. I was close to him from the minute I heard him speak at Stephen Greer's Disclosure Project. By the way, that was a monumental event, and I helped him in Rome with all the military witnesses. We interviewed them there. But when I went to Clifford Stone's house, he said to me, I said, why did you say there are 57 different species? And he said, because he had a manual, a first aid manual. For when he went to crash retrieval, when we went to a retrieval site, he knew what kind of being it was so that they would not kill them or give them medication or do something to them that would destroy their biology. I said, you're kidding. And he goes, no. He said, he did 12 crash retrievals, and of the 12, he encountered at least 5 different species. Some of them that he described to me that were pretty bizarre. And he said that none of them were hostile.
Yeah, and the reason why I bring that up is because when we're talking about interdimensionality or wormholes or, traveling the bulk or getting across warp drive, whatever it is, that they would have different ways of getting here and different technologies, different languages, different planets, different star systems. And we are looking for one common denominator, but there must be an infinite amount, and no two are alike.
Yeah, that's it. But the only way you're going to learn this is if you categorize it and you study it, and
right.
Like you like what they did. If you start putting the list of, I did the story on Eugenio Siracusa, who told me that the Venusian sea met came out of a rock. They could dematerialize, go in and out of a rock near Mount Etna, and I'm going, are you kidding me? Because this is. But then I know people can do amazing things because there is a whole study of that. So, at times they would come out. And I've spoken to people who knew him, and they said these people, these space people, will be walking around his house. And if you study the Adamski case, whoa, it's exactly concurrent to the Siracusa case on the island of Sicily. I mean, what are they doing? They're coming here to give a specific message at a time when we've discovered the atomic bomb. And so what's happened is we didn't get it. Obviously, we didn't get it. So they went somewhere else.
Let's take a break right here. We need to do that. Our guest tonight, Paola Harris. We're going to discuss everything tonight. We're going to go from UFOs, artificial intelligence, contact, the current state of disclosure. Everything is on the table. It's going to be a great conversation. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Paola Harris. Want to remind everybody this June 26th and 27th of 2020, we'll be at the Awakening Conference in Manchester, United Kingdom with Paola, Eric Von Daniken, Richard Dolan, Nick Pope. Grant Cameron's going to be there as well. And all you have to do is go to awakeningufo.com for tickets and info. Pretty excited about this conference, Paola, and we're going to get to hang out over in the UK together. It's going to be cool.
Yeah, I've been there before, and there was 1,400 people there. And when I got on the stage, they had given me an award. I just was in shock. Because, looking at that size, it's held in a hangar, like an airplane hangar.
Right.
And I'm not used to seeing that many people all in front of me, but they're so enthusiastic.
Yeah, it's going to be
so
great.
Wonderful over there.
It's going to be great, and I'm trying to hold. Fingers crossed if we can somehow divert our transportation over to Stonehenge and then up to Manchester, to take the opportunity to go and see that with Rita. But we're going to be over there in June. It's going to be amazing. And what a great lineup. It's going to be so much fun. We're really looking forward to it. I wanted to ask you, this popped up, and I just watched the movie, the documentary, on the Friendship case. Did you ever get a chance to speak to anybody that was involved?
Yes. That's an Italian case, so
yes.
I'm Italian, so that's easy for me. Yes, if people would go to my YouTube channel, I went to Lake Como, and that's where George Clooney lives, and I interviewed Gaspare Di Lama, who's 92 years old. He and his wife were part of that case. But I'm lucky enough for people who read Amicizia, or Friendship, to have worked with Stefano Brescia, who wrote the book. In fact, it was because of me got it published in English. And Stefano gave me everything he had on that case, including the voice of the extraterrestrials who would call these 10 Italians, who would call them, because this was to explain to your listeners, this was an agreement with 10 Italians and these extraterrestrials that they called W-56s, and they had an underwater base near Pescara, and they had also a base above the ground in a castle called Rocca Pia. So I talked to Stefano, who wrote the book, and he left me the materials he has now passed on. And this one is an experiment, Jimmy. This was an experiment whether these extraterrestrials could live with the humans. And the deal was this. This happened in 1956. The deal was this. If the humans did not fight among themselves and create a disharmony, these beings could live with them. And you can hear in my interview with Gaspare di Lama that their credo, in fact, it was a technology, was called Ureda, which means harmony. Their credo was, if we can live in harmony, we can be here among you. So I basically understood that it did not work out after a number of years, and they left. I think they were able to sustain it for about 7 or 8 years. But when I was in Chile, I found out they also had an amicizia case in 1985, and I interviewed Octavio Ortiz, who was part of that, who communicated with these beings too. Since it was more recent, he told me what they look like. He told me how they did it. He said they were very Nordic looking. He said they were scientists on the island of Chiloé. He said they came to his house and talked to his wife and kids, that they needed their help getting certain minerals. And he said they were very spiritual, and he believes they're still there. But this idea of ETs trying to forge a relationship with families and with humans. The amicizia, remember, is 1956, and the Chilean case is 1985, is very interesting to me because it goes back to my study of the good old giant rock days of Adamski, Van Tassel, and all those guys, Menger and so forth, where the beings tried to integrate with the humans. And I was really curious, where'd they go? And how many of them are trying to do that? And are they living among us? And if they are, where are they?
How did the friendship case, I know that they left, but how did it end? The documentary is incredible, and it is so documented. And you go back and you follow through, and you think to yourself, why aren't more people talking about the friendship case and its significance? It's an incredible case. But how did it ultimately wind down? Did they stop making phone calls?
Well, first of all, I'm willing to talk about it, but Jimmy, I'm going to be honest with you. Nobody cares about anything that happens outside the United States.
That's my
really
point.
Hard because it's an Italian case.
Right.
How did it end? I mean, I hope people go online and they look at amicizia friendship case, because not only were those 10 Italians involved, the Vatican was involved.
Right.
There were diplomats involved. This was an effort to talk to the politics of Italy at the time. How did it end? I mean, I talked to 2 different people involved in Pescara, Brescia, and Paolo Di Girolamo, and what they told me was what would happen naturally is like if we had a secret group of people that were interacting with ETs, and the ETs went to you instead of me, and you didn't see them, but I saw them, or they wanted to speak to you and they didn't speak to me, what happened was jealousy and infighting. And the vibration went that way, and they could not live among a group of humans that are infighting. It's a microcosm of the macrocosm, and you're looking at the macrocosm right now in politics. You honestly think that a group of ETs could live among the human species today the way we are? We haven't progressed very much from 1956, but they decided it wasn't worth their while to stay. But they left us with some beautiful messages, and I hope people go on my YouTube channel to see the messages that they left Gaspare di Lama and his wife, because The book came out in English, the Yamichitsa case number, the second book, not Mass Contacts, and that's much more clear, and it also talks about Chile. But there's been experiments on the Earth of cultures. I'm going to call them cosmic cultures trying to live with humans.
Now, do you feel that these are the days of disclosure? Not only with the the UFO phenomenon, but just in disclosure in general, because everybody seems to be using the word. Disclosure means so many different things to different people. But do you think that we are in the days of disclosure?
No, I think we're in the days of entertainment. I think they're going to use it for entertainment. They're going to use it to try to get more advanced weaponry. People that want disclosure have done the work. They study, they know. A lot of people have had individual contact. You've met a lot of people, even on your show. You know it's real. You don't have to, who do you want to say that it's real? If you've done the work, it's real. The whole thing is real. It's just, the next question is, what do you want to do about it? What do you want to do about the fact that we're not alone? And that's, do you want to make money out of it and have it be major entertainment, or, even some of the conferences? My conference is totally different in that it's more of a seminar, and I bring the whole world. I've got a gentleman that's coming from South America that is working with kids that have a third helix in their DNA, and he's had major contact, and he's from Peru. So I'm trying to grab from other countries people who are, can add to this puzzle. And it's not like, so you won't see a lot of the same people that you see everywhere. You'll see a theme, and this year it's artificial intelligence. Last year it was ESP. In fact, I bought 3 robots. I'm living with 3 robots in my house who are driving me crazy because I swear they're going off on their own. They're programmed, but then they do things that they're not programmed to do. This should interest you. And so I'm trying to create a different situation, a more more seminar type. It's still fun, but I'm trying to bring it to a more intellectual kind of situation.
Why is it that has the public always wanted to talk about UFOs? Today, you can go anywhere in public, bring up the subject, and somebody's got something to say, and nobody's going to laugh. Has it always been there, and we just needed the door to crack open, right, to talk about it freely?
That's a really good comment. You're making a comment here, even though it's a question. It's true. Everything you said is true. And, of course, I'm so old-fashioned at my age. They ask me, they say, well, what do you write? What do you study? And my answer to them is, you don't want to know. and they go, yeah, we want to know. And then when I have courage enough to tell them, then they engage in a conversation. So, yeah, Jimmy, that's changed. That's changed a lot.
We during Halloween, we're handing out candy, over at the house. And I never saw this before in Halloween. So many E.T. costumes, right, with these little kids. And this little girl comes up, and she's got this great costume on. She's being abducted in this great costume. And I turned to her, and I said, do you know what that is? She goes, yeah, it's E.T. And I said, okay. And her mom, I said, can I talk to her? And her mom says, yeah. I said, so, do you understand what this is? Yeah, it's E.T. I'm being taken, by E.T. And her mom goes, right out, I didn't ask for this. Her mom goes, of course we're not alone. Yeah, we talk about this all the time. And I took a picture with her. But that's never happened before, where we've got mom and kids walking around going, of course E.T. is real, and my daughter just got abducted, and we're okay with that. And I don't even know what to do with that, Paola.
Well, it's the media, too. I mean, it's made it more accessible. But I cried like crazy when I saw the E.T. ad. What do you call it? With Elliot coming back. I don't know. Did you see that ad?
Yes, I did.
Oh my God, my tears just, and I thought, you got to stop this. This is Hollywood. This isn't like real. But what it did was, I think we are connected to those, whatever, out there, the cultures. We're part of them. We're part of the cosmos. And it may be like coming home. I mean, why do we have emotional reactions to Close Encounters?
Right.
Why do we have emotional reactions to E.T.? That's unexplainable. So maybe we need to look at our DNA. We need to see if our DNA has been changed. We need to see scientifically if it's a different climate. We need to see if we're being acclimated to another reality. It's just so complicated. You know, my dream is, and I'm going to say it over and over again, that we open this up in some university and we all talk about it, you know, with scientists and researchers and everything, so we could get some stimulation as to how to go ahead with the research.
Well, and you brought up disclosure that, you know, I've seen and I've interviewed and I don't need disclosure, you know, coming from Washington, D.C., and neither do you. But so many do. And whenever I make that kind of statement, right, I don't need disclosure. I've already got it. I get boos, right? There's too many out there want the official confirmation, and they will accept nothing less. Why is that? Is it because they're so emotionally invested that they need an outside confirmation?
Well, you know, maybe it's easier for you, but if you have been conditioned by religion or being brought up to believe a certain thing, and then you really digest that we're not alone and that this planet is complicated and that maybe our history needs to be rewritten and maybe what we're living in is a matrix, if you digest that, it picks you up, throws you against the wall, and changes everything. And I'll be honest with you, Jimmy, my kids won't talk about this. My daughter's excuse is, Mom, this has nothing to do with me, and she likes it the way it is. She likes staying in the dark. So she never read my books. She never seen any of my YouTube or anything. And I always say to people, don't foist it on them because it changes their reality. And not everybody wants to change what they believe in. And it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. People are comfortable. They need to stay comfortable. The other people, they're going to grad school. I mean, I describe it as, look, you know, we all have to go through all the levels of learning, you know, third grade, middle school. The other people are in grad school, so they need grad school kinds of things. And the extraterrestrial phenomenon, the idea of dimensionality, the quantum physics, all of that is grad school. And you can't foist it on a third grader.
And I've often wondered, not only with Hynek, but, you know, Jim Mars just recently passed, and he didn't get a chance to see these things that are happening now with the media and with the government. He's always been outspoken about it. But we need those insights too. And what I don't want, Paula, is to have a bunch more time go by and others don't get to see the confirmation or the acceptance on this planet about the ET phenomenon. Right? Another year's going to go by, and then another year's going to go by without everybody getting that sense of relief.
Yeah, but I think your show, and you know, because it does interview insiders, and you do have so many really interesting guests, and we all give what we know. I think this does a lot, and you're doing what you can. You can't do any more than that. And I do what I can. For me, it is not entertainment. I will go on public and say that over and over again. I can't play the game of, you know, some things that I know are ridiculous. So you're doing what you can. I'm doing what I can. There's people out in the field that are doing the best they can. And the people that really want to know will search it out. They will search it out. And then I've got to God bless Steve Bassett for all the X-conferences, for the citizen hearing, all the people that did the Washington Press stuff. They tried, if they couldn't get it done with that, then I remember being part of that, and I remember the Washington Post coming up to me, interviewing me, and they put the most ridiculous title on it. If the media is going to be hostile to all that, then all we can do is this alternative media or make it legitimate in universities. That's all we can do, and I think your show does a lot of that.
Speaking of shows, before we get to the break, I wanted to ask you about Project Blue Book. Have you watched it?
Yeah, Project Blue Book. Yeah, in fact, Paul Hynek is a close friend of mine. He was a little boy when I knew Alan. He was a little boy, and he basically, it was so great to reconnect with him. And Josh is Alan's other son, who is a consultant. And I'm invited to watch the party tomorrow with them. But the thing is this: that it's been highly Hollywoodized. I knew Mimi very well, Alan, and she's nothing like what they have on that show. Mimi was an intellectual who was into archaeology. She used to go on archaeological digs. She was just a force to be reckoned with. And then I've told Paul about this. I never saw Alan without his pipe, ever. He came to my house here in Boulder. We would travel together. He never was without his pipe. What's going on here? I thought, so this year I hear that Alan's going to have a pipe.
And what about, okay, and then I totally agree it's been Hollywoodized, but the public, because of the way that the show is introduced, intro and outro, right, these are actual case files, this is fact, right, and they do that, and they show Jay Allen in an underground bunker with alien greys and giant tanks. Right? They accept this as fact. And these other experiences, the Russian next door neighbors and all of these. Right,
no.
And they accept this as a historical document, don't they? Is it taking it just a bit too far?
Well, for us, maybe our generation, we know that that's not the way it went. For our generation, because you're questioning it, so I questioned it from day one. I know what Alan wouldn't do. He certainly wouldn't be running. He was running somewhere in this field. I mean, Alan never ran like that. In order to sell a product, that's why I'm very wary of any program I do or what I do. You have to flex for the entertainment value, and I won't do that ever. And I saw that in order to pitch that, they would have to do that. So maybe we're getting it. We're getting the real cases. Those are the Flatbush case. All those cases are real. What he examined was real. But in order to make it palatable and entertainment-wise, they have to make it the way it is. Now, does the end justify the means? I don't know. Everybody has to individually answer that question.
And what about Paul himself? Is he okay with it? I've seen him speak about this a couple of times, and he didn't seem too stressed out about it. I think he's accepted it.
No, and I hope you have him on your show. He's at my conference in Laughlin, November 4th through 6th, because Paul's a good friend. Paul is heavily into AI. He worked on Avatar. He worked on some of the movies. So did Joel. Basically, he's okay with the entertainment part of it because it opens the door to his father. And he just came back from Argentina where he lectured on his father. And so what happens is that's like the key to opening the door on the real stuff. So, it's like the key because then his father becomes now back popular, and like even Close Encounters, that didn't happen, that way. That was supposed to be Holloman Landing. Certainly did not happen that way. But that opened my career. Actually, watching Close Encounters started me doing the research with Hynek that it did. So maybe in a funny kind of way, it opens the door, and then you jump in and start doing the real work.
Okay, I buy into that. But there's another part of this, too. Distorting Project Blue Book and J. Allen Hynek is one thing. But Hollywood is definitely, without question, acclimating the public, the world as a whole, with the subject of ET, because every other movie out of Hollywood is about an alien invasion or contact or venturing out to the stars and finding an intelligent civilization. So it seems like there is a message and an agenda there, isn't there?
Yeah, but then I also remember that E.T. commercial that made me cry at Christmas. So I thought there's the bad part, the one that has an agenda. But if the agenda is to bring tears because Elliot gets to see E.T. again, then maybe there's we got to look at it all.
Let's take a break right here. We need to get that in. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Paola Harris. We're discussing everything. When we come back after the break, we're going to talk about AI, artificial intelligence. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. If you ever miss a live show or you can't be here for the live show, subscribe to our podcast. It's just $2 a month. Go to jimmychurchradio.com, click on that podcast banner where we have over 1,260 live shows right there, archived just for you. Our guest tonight, Paola Harris. And now, artificial intelligence. This means so much. Is it a threat? Is it something that we need to embrace? When we start to talk about AI, what's your take, Paola?
Well, it's just like my book. It's all of the above. All of the above. Right now, I think we are artificial intelligence. We're programmed in a certain way, and we react in a certain way. But look at the average home today with Alexa that tells, everybody, what to do and does it for them. That alone, if people are arguing about artificial intelligence and have Alexa, then they got it in the house. What I'd like to do is present all different angles of it. And what I'd like to do is talk about if it's going to take over. And when I think of artificial intelligence, what comes to me, and what you probably remember, is HAL of 2001.
Right.
The computer that shut down everything. And that told Dave to take a stress pill. I'm going to show a clip from that because I think that was genius of Kubrick. And then Spielberg did a movie called A.I., if you remember, that had artificial adoptive child. And it had a lot of messages in it. So my idea is to cover all angles of it, and I know that Paul Hynek will do an amazing job because he's working on artificial intelligence, and look at what we could do to balance our lives. In other words, what we could do, a whole bunch of suggestions have to do with your personal life, not bringing your cell phone always, going out in nature, remembering that you're human, trying to do some things on your own, and some of the panacea for this we can offer at the conference, but what's important is that we don't avoid the discussion. We can't avoid something we're already in. So if we look at our world, then how can we make it much more sensual, much more meaningful? How can humanity, control this? We're already in it. The difference is that I don't think there's any conference that just addresses that. But if you look at it, Jimmy, my God, a UFO is artificial intelligence. I mean, that thing is not run with a motor. It's, they've used it to navigate, to get here. The beings that are inside, some of them are extraterrestrial biological entities and programmed. I remember when Colonel Corso told me, and I'm hoping to have Colonel Corso's son as a special guest because he has a lot to add. But Colonel Corso told me that the beings had headbands that would control the ship. They were biologically created. That's artificial intelligence. So ETs are artificial intelligence. The ship is connected with the ET. There's a lot to discuss there.
Well, my fear of artificial intelligence is something like you ask AI, right? We've got this advanced computer system now, right? It can do things, it can build things, it can control factories and things. And we say, you know what? Climate change and pollution is killing this planet. Fix climate change. And artificial intelligence says, well, okay, we need to kill all humans. Because that's the problem.
That looks like a movie.
Right.
That's a movie.
See, and that could be because we just give it a simple instruction. Let's get rid of pollution. And artificial intelligence says, well, the creators of pollution are humans. Humans are bad. That's what we fear.
Paul Hynek said to me, he said, wouldn't you rather that an artificial intelligence drove a car than a drunken driver? Well, how can I answer that?
Well, see,
are we going to have driverless cars?
That's right. That raises that side of artificial intelligence raises all kinds of philosophical questions, like the car sees a baby in a stroller in the middle of the street, right? And it's going to hit the baby and the parents. Or if it turns right and avoids the baby, it's going to run into a crowd of 10 people. And now somebody out there has to write that program. What do? Do you kill the baby and the parents and take 2 out or 3 out? Or do you take out 10 that are sitting at the cafe on the sidewalk? Right?
Well, I don't think it's either. My car and a lot of cars stop when there's something in front of them, even if it's a dog.
You understand what I'm saying,
yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
You're saying it's making it's making human decisions is what you're saying.
And there is a human out there.
Decisions for us.
Right. And there is a human out there that is going to write that program. Okay. Well, you know what? Take out the baby. Right? Instead of the 10 people. Or it could even go deeper than that. What if there is facial recognition and races involved? Right? Okay, there's so many Asian Americans, so many blacks, so many white, somebody this, somebody that. It's a baby from India, and this gets involved into AI. And all of it, these are heavy subjects that are going to have to be written. They can't be ignored, right? And so what do we do about that when it comes to self-driving cars? That's why I think self-driving cars are way off, way into the future. I don't think it's what Elon Musk is suggesting that we're going to have it in a couple of years. I don't think our AI is ready for it yet, Paul. I really don't.
I think we've done it already. I do. The thing is, you're so cool about this. I'd love to put you on stage with all these questions because you're going to be our guest in November. But, you've got the right questions, and this is what it's about, Jimmy. It's about asking the right questions. You and I don't have the answers, and it's really difficult. But if we ask the right questions, it becomes a really interesting discussion.
Well, and the other part about it is the country, and it could be a small country. It doesn't necessarily have to be the United States or Russia, but the country that conquers artificial general intelligence, not super intelligence, but just an AGI, that's the global game changer right there. That could control the infrastructure, that could control your house, that could control the logistics of food delivery or air conditioning or water. And that's the part that scares me the most. It wouldn't be some complex algorithm. It could actually be something very, very simple that could control everything. And the person or the country that gets to that first, that's a scary thought. And that's what I think our government is really looking at right now. It's not so much the Google supercomputer. It's the simple things that could control everything.
Well, we make choices. Actually, you're describing a movie. Really interesting here. Those are the choices we're going to make. I don't have an Alexa in my house. I do go out in nature and don't use my cell. I'm one of the only people who walks in the forest without a cell phone. And I'm listening to the birds and looking at the flowers, and I'm going, why would people ever bring a cell phone when they're taking a beautiful walk in the Rocky Mountains? It's like, I think we need to show the alternative to all of this. It's not just talking about, the advent of AI, because it's here. And I'm positive there's some really scary type technology we know nothing about. That I'm sure we've already invented the driverless cars. But, what I'm looking at is how do we have alternatives, and what kind of choices do we make? And then I have to also, because it's a UFO conference, I have to apply it to UFOs. So the thing is, it's an interesting discussion. I'm really, really, really thrilled to have you with us.
Well, see, this is why I embrace it. Let me tell you why I embrace it. I don't embrace Alexa. Don't have that stuff over at the house. We have a very dumb house. For good reason. I don't want a smart house. I don't want to have somebody with access to my home where they could create a nightmare for me. I don't want to wake up in the morning and go and see my refrigerator shut off, or my thermostat going crazy, or my lawnmower going nuts, or I don't have water. Or, it's something, because if that happens on a global scale, if you shut down the water system or the refrigerators of everybody's house, or shut down everybody's smart TV, and you have cut off communication, we've got a serious problem on our hands. And I suggest to everybody the exact opposite. You don't want a smart house. There's just no reason for it, because if it goes wrong, it can go wrong really, really fast. But here's the flip side. If I could download or upload my consciousness, my mind, into a robot, that you achieve a sense of immortality there, right? You're no longer limited to disease or anything. But that is how we are going to travel the stars. It would have to happen that way. Somebody's going to have to make that sacrifice of uploading themselves into a robot so you can go and fly a spaceship for 1,000 years, right? And not age. You bring up the right philosophical point. E.T. has got to be doing the same thing to get here. And we have to understand that, don't we?
Yes, these are some pretty profound issues you're bringing up. I'm so glad you're going there, because that's where we want to go. And yeah, absolutely, exactly what you said. So I really am curious about it, because the only reason I do things is because I'm curious about them. And we'll have a really, really interesting discussion. You brought up so many really profound issues that's got me thinking.
Would you, excuse me, hold on, cough button. Cough button. It happens, it's live radio. Would you, if you were in the situation like in Close Encounters, where you would be approached to travel the stars. And they said, well, okay, to do this, Miss Harris, you would have to upload your mind and get rid of that body. You're going to live forever, but you need to get rid of the old self, and you're going to go meet our ET brothers. Do you do that? Do you make the sacrifice? Do you get rid of your body so your mind and soul can be uploaded onto a computer chip so it could travel to another planet?
Personally, I'm having too much fun here. And I'm not, and I think the contact can be achieved here. And I live near Boulder, Colorado. I wouldn't give this up for anything. It's gorgeous here. And I learned so much from my environment that no, the answer is I'm happy. I don't need that. However, in order for science to progress, something on this level, and you and I know that, will take place.
So you wouldn't do it?
No.
Okay.
I'm too happy.
Now let's flip.
Would you do it?
Yeah. If I could take Rita with me, I would.
Oh.
Could you imagine
That's not fair.
Rita and I talking for 1,000 years on a spaceship together? Oh, she would just lose her mind. But yeah, if I could take Rita. Okay, now let's flip it around 180 degrees. You're in Boulder, Colorado. Craft lands in your backyard. Door opens and says, Miss Harris, we're here for you. Come on. Come and hang out with us. Do you get on that craft? Knowing what you know today, do you get on that craft?
I don't think so. Because I don't believe I'm going anywhere. I would believe that basically, I have the belief anymore that whoever is visiting is interdimensional, and I wouldn't be going anywhere. Now, if they say, do you want to walk through a Zendra? For you people that don't know, I've had contact in Mount Shasta. If you want to go through a Zendra to another dimension and see what that's like, I'd say yeah, without drugs. Through a portal to another dimension, yeah, I do that. With the knowledge that I could come back.
Right.
But for me, I do enough traveling all over the world I don't feel like I need to go anywhere. I would rather understand the reality that I live in, which is very limited, because we live in a multi-dimensional matrix. I'd rather understand that than, actually go somewhere, go to another place.
Well, I've discussed this so much and thought about it so much. I would do it with, I would go, even if we couldn't come back. But I would need two things to happen. One, I'd have to be able to take Rita with me. But the second thing is food. The food would have to be good. And the reason for that is because could you imagine how miserable it would be if the food wasn't good and you're going to, and you arrive and you just find out that you're stuck, right? It would make the experience just intolerable. But if I could get those two things.
Well, what about the astronauts? They have food. They have, food that's powdered. Those poor astronauts on the space station, that I'm sure they don't have a steak and they don't have, good food. But somehow they're able to survive. Of course, they know they're coming back. Somehow they're able to survive and have some kind of experience. The experience that Edgar Mitchell had was and he talked about it, was an experience in samadhi, which is like a spiritual experience of being one with the stars. And he said it was absolutely amazing. And I don't think all those other considerations are looked at when you have that. Being one with the stars, with the starry night, being one with all that must be totally amazing. I'd go for that.
Yeah, I would too. When you go back and read the accounts of, say, Serpo, and you read through that sounded to me like miserable. Right? I don't want to be miserable. And the other thing, wait, there is a part 3, and I was discussing with this with Rita the other night. I couldn't wear a space helmet. I couldn't do it. Right? I couldn't do it. One, it's claustrophobic, but the other thing is, and I don't know how astronauts deal with this, but what if you had an itch? What if you had an itch? You got a space helmet on. You cannot scratch. What do you do? What do you do? How do astronauts deal with it?
I don't think you need to wear a space helmet. The people that have been taken off planet, the contactees, did not wear space suits.
Right. Okay.
They said that they said they just sat there and they didn't even notice motion.
Yeah, I would.
They just were. Yeah.
Yeah, that I'm cool with. Right? I don't know if I.
Yeah, they didn't notice the motion. They sat one place and they arrived at the other within a matter of minutes and time. Minutes. And yeah, I think our spacesuit is very primitive. There must be ways of dealing with this that doesn't include a primitive spacesuit and helmet.
Yeah.
It's not logical. I mean, we're at grade 1 right now with all that kind of stuff. So I think that there are advanced civilizations that don't need that stuff. And maybe we just don't know enough about our outside of ourselves and our solar system and the way things work. Maybe, I don't know, maybe we should just stay here and enjoy it.
Yeah, I would go, though. I really would. And when we come back, I actually want to shift gears and talk a little bit about Shasta and your adventures down in South America and those contact experiences. I think it's very, very interesting. And for me, before we go to the break, I have seen what I have seen. I've seen some very interesting stuff. And to me, it's the daytime. At night, you can see whatever it may be. It could be anything. But during the day, when you have these daylight sightings, that's the game changer. And I have seen what I have seen. Have you seen a craft or an entity during the day?
Craft, yes.
And what was it?
It was a light. It was a bright light that zigzagged. And I was hiking, and it was in Italy. It was in the Alps, and it zigzagged over my head, and all the people that were, walking with me in this mountain hike saw it too. We were able to photograph it.
And when you say zigzag, describe that.
Well, zigzag. I mean, it didn't fly a pattern. It appeared one place, and then you saw it in another place, and we saw it in front of us, and it did not look linear. It was not linear, but it was attached to a huge sighting they had in the town the night before, a huge sighting seen by all the people. So I was at the right place at the right time where something was happening in a 2-day period, and this was in the Italian Alps.
Was there a shape to it?
It was more of a bright light. It was a blinding orb.
Incredible. How long did it last?
Well, when I saw it, it would appear and disappear, appear and disappear. It was in front of me. When the people in the village of Cuneo saw it, it was huge. And it actually, it scared half the town. Huge. So I think it changes shapes.
And my question was, I mean, how long did it last? Was this a mere seconds, or did this span a few minutes?
No, it spanned a few minutes.
See, and because this happens in the daytime, and you see something like that, I think it's a definite. I'm going to say proof, or maybe even a fact that something is going on, because it's not a helicopter, it's not a plane, it's not a balloon, it's none of these things, and it's happening during the day where it's not any of these things, right? There is truly something going on.
Yeah, but it's something that wants to get your attention. Again, It wants to get your attention. So it's not there by accident and you happen to see it. it's there for you.
Right. Let's take our break right here. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Our guest tonight, Paola Harris. Great conversation tonight. We will be back after this short break, and I want to go to Mount Shasta and some of these other experiences in South America. We're going to do all of that when we come back. Stay with us. This is Fade to Black. Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I want to remind everybody, you can become an official Fadernaut. It's simple. Just go to our membership section over at jimmychurchradio.com. Become a game changer. Get those autographed shirts, autographed hats. You get an email to me. You get downloadable MP3s and from our archives that you can play anywhere. You can do all of that in our membership section of the site. And Paula, your Star Works USA that's coming up in November, and I cannot wait to finally make that conference. It's going to be great hanging out with everybody. But you've got early bird tickets for the next month, right? Where can everybody go to get those?
Well, they can go to www.starworksusa.com. It's probably the most affordable conference ever. It includes 2 movies. We're going to screen Phenomena by James Fox and Witness to Another World. And we're going to have 18 speakers. We have the gala dinner and a cocktail party with entertainment. And if they get the whole package, it's $270. It's $80 off, which is reasonable. The hotel is $49 a night. It's in Laughlin, Nevada, and it's November 6th through 8th. So our early bird finishes February 1st because we have to buy all the tickets for our foreign speakers. We have Jaime Maussan from Mexico. We have Egon Kregel from Paris and 2 South American. We have Sisto Paz from Contactee. He's amazing from South America. And Roberto Gala de la Vega, who's a scientist who I said was working with kids with DNA. So, with the 18 speakers, the 3 days, the gala dinner, everything included, it's not like it's all one package. And it's available only till February 1st.
Yeah, James Fox's new movie is going to be incredible. And what's really cool about that, you're going to have the screening there, is that this is going to be, for the first time, a major theatrical release. They're talking about between 600 and 1,000 screens across the country. And what a way to push this forward. I was talking to him this weekend, and James, and he actually said, he goes, Jimmy, I'm going to send you the movie in 2 weeks, and it's just about done. And so I'm going to get a sneak peek at it before the music gets added. And I cannot wait for this film, and for it to be screened up there in Laughlin with you is going to be incredible. I can't wait to be a part of it. It's going to be great. It's going to be a great weekend. Really, really looking forward to it. I wanted to ask you about mountains. What is, you have Mount Shasta and you have Mount Adams, and you have the stuff that's going on in Peru and Chile and Argentina. There always seems to be a mountain involved. I have been there. I have seen it. There's a reason for this, and what is it?
You're absolutely right. In Mount Shasta, everybody says there's some kind of base inside, or some kind of ancient knowledge inside Mount Shasta. It's some kind of ancient vortex or electromagnetic anomaly that's around there. That all the groups go there. They go there because stuff happens. In Peru, Huascarán is an amazing mountain. When we arrived there, I was in shock. I looked at this thing and I said, that thing is alive. Whatever's in that mountain is alive. I could feel the mountain. In Chile, it was the volcano Licacabur, and that volcano has all kinds of paranormal activity around it. I don't know why these, maybe because they're, ancient geological structures. I don't know what the reason is. I just know that when these, and Mount Adams, I've been to the Gilliland Ranch, and so evidently it's some kind of resting place or some kind of contact place for another dimension. I'm not going to say UFOs because I think a lot of stuff happened around these places.
And what about Zendra and the crafts that you saw in South America?
Well, when I was in Peru, we were trying to film UFOs as usual, and the UFOs were not coming out. So we were there with Rob Freeman that has these 5, infrared cameras, night screening cameras. He had 6 of these all set up. Nothing happened, and we're looking, to capture the ultimate moment. I wasn't there for that reason. I was there because it was Ricardo Gonzalez, who's the contactee, who's able to time when the contact happens. He has groups in Mount Shasta every year, but they're all in Spanish, and they're usually in September. And if there's going to be a sighting, he knows the exact time. I've been with him 3 times. One time, Grant Cameron was there. He said it was going to appear at 9. I think he said it was 10 minutes past 9, and sure enough, 10 minutes past 9, this craft comes over, flashes Grant for 5 minutes, and goes on. So he's able to predict. So we went with him. While we were filming, I had this strange feeling somebody was watching us. And sometimes you just have to use your gut feeling. So I wasn't going to go, but then I waited long enough, so I heard a voice inside say, "Get up." So I walked over to this corner. The cameraman walked over with me. He didn't bring his camera, and another person, and we saw this tree entirely light up in a dome-shaped light that went around the tree, and all 3 of us saw it. It was, and this was about midnight, and we called Ricardo, and we said, "What should we do?" And he said, "We're not going there." He said, he saw it too. He said, it's just a manifestation for us, but he didn't think we should walk over to it. When I was in Shasta, I was with 7 people, and there was a manifestation inside the forest. And he predicted that. He wasn't with us, but I was with 7 people, and they were women who didn't speak English. This is the other thing. I'm with these people from foreign. I don't know what to do because I'm not understanding anything anybody's saying. But I have assisted at physical manifestations of this phenomena, whether it's a portal opening or a being standing there. And in Shasta, it was a 10-foot tall man that was standing in the trees, right against a tree. And we all saw it, and Grant has it on his YouTube because he interviewed all the people that were with me. So it was very, very interesting. It shows. I don't think that they walked off a spaceship, walk over to a tree, and did all of that. I think they can appear and disappear at will. I think that they have a reason to have you look at them or show that themselves to you, or open a portal. There's an obligation to talk about it. There's an obligation to deal with this. So I think they're doing it so that, you can talk about it to other people and make it more normal than the crazy paranormal stuff that, we've read about in the past. So for me, the paranormal or the appearance of these things, and I saw UFOs coming out of Mount Adams at the Gilliland Ranch too, except, the reaction's a little bit different with the Spanish people. They don't open their mouth. They don't say anything. They meditate. I've seen these manifestations.
The phenomenon when we're talking about a portal opening up is the portal in a consistent place, right? Or does it move? In that, I've heard at Mount Shasta, you go up this certain path, and there's and they know specifically where to go. And I find that part interesting. But is the portal mobile, right? Are these portals? Am I asking? Am I asking this the right way?
Yeah, you're next, but it's all, like my book, it's all the above. When people ask me, is it paranormal, is it physical, is it interdimensional, is it interplanetary? And I go, it's all of it. It's all of it. In Mount Shasta, there was a portal, but it looked like a magic carpet of mist that came up. It was not a dome. And I don't think it's there anymore because I've been there several times since, and it's not there anymore. So it was there, it appeared, and I had to wait until it appeared because Ricardo said wait until it comes up off the ground so that you can have the experience you have. You have to stand in it. So when I was in Mount Shasta, it was not something that's there all the time. And that's the problem. I really think there's a lot of people in our intelligence community and so forth that want to look for the portals. And I don't think they're there all the time. I think there are some portals. I did the Dan Burrish case. I don't know if you remember Dan Burrish, where he talked about there being a physical portal near Giza Pyramid. That's there all the time that people know about, that in the Middle East there are some physical portals that are known to the ancients that they used he talked about that. But I think it's all of it. I don't think that what happened around that tree in Peru was something that was there all the time. I think it was there to get our attention. So I want to encourage your listeners to know that if something happens, the reason is it wants to get your attention.
Did the tree, I wanted to go back to that. I'm glad you brought it up. Did the tree illuminate, or was there a craft or something physical above the tree illuminating down? Help me understand what you were saying.
I think the tree illuminated because somebody was behind it.
Oh, I got you.
I think because that's what I saw the last time. I think that they don't just come down and walk off of a ladder, and I think that what happens is some kind of change in the atmosphere, some kind of change where you're standing. And the interviews I did, by the way, are in my book, All of the Above and Beyond. I did 4 interviews in South America where these South American contactees are telling me they camp in the Chilca Desert, that at a certain time they feel like something is going to happen. They walk in groups, that a big dome opens up and the being is standing inside. And they often say that they get a feeling of nausea and sickness because it could be that it's an atmosphere they can both breathe in. They can both breathe in the atmosphere to communicate. And in my book, All of the Above and Beyond, they go into detail. There's even drawings of what they described they went through. And I believe the Zendras, per se, are in Latin America. I don't think we have them in the States. We could have, like I said, this mist coming up, but I think the actual Zendras happen more in the Chilca Desert, and I've been there. That was weird because our van broke down in the middle of the Chilca Desert, and there was no cell service. We had to be rescued at midnight. I mean, I've lived a life of James Bond, I swear.
Yeah, I saw those pictures of you guys on the side of the road.
Oh my God! It was like I wasn't scared. I was trying to have faith that everything would be okay, but it was an adventure. And I think the only way that you can really research this is do it on location. You can't read about it, and nobody can tell you about it. So Peru was an experience for me, and then Atacama, Ricardo actually predicted when that 13-minute sighting was going to happen. So all the cameras were ready. So we got it. It was the last Sunday of that, and that's in Rob Freeman's film.
What did those craft look like?
Again, it's at night. So what you have is a striking bright light that stands static and flashes at intervals. It flashes. It doesn't move. It's not a satellite. Plus, we checked everything. Satellite, iridium flares. There were no planes because the Atacama Desert doesn't have planes like Crestone, where I have some land, there's so many planes you can't, tell anything from anything. But this was a bright, blinding white, so white that I can't even explain it, light that just flashed.
Incredible.
It flashed, actually, I think it was 13 minutes, so we were all finally, at the very, but he has the ability to say when it's going to happen, which is never, no other contactee, he's from Argentina, has been able to put the time on it. So, that was really interesting. And then other things happened where, we were in the desert, so you can imagine.
Like what? What happened?
Well, one of the Spanish guys that was with us, I told him to use the laser when it, when the manifestation was going to happen, and he disappeared. So I thought, where's he going? And he was following what the Spanish called a canepola, which is a orange orb that was ground level. He followed it into the forest, and so we followed him. We thought, we can't find this guy, so we went into the forest, and we all ended up in the same place. That something manifested itself, and he was supposed to be where Rob was filming. Instead, he followed this orange orb. So they call them canepolas, and what they are is not scouts. What do you call like it's a scout? It's a small circular device that it's like a drone.
A probe.
A probe. You got it. It's a probe. So if you study the South American cases, and that's in my book, usually a probe comes down. Which it's very, now this is not everybody. This is the group from Latin America that meet with human-type beings.
When we talk about portals and these beings showing themselves, whatever they may be, could this be tied to other paranormal phenomena such as ghosts and spirits and entities that have shown up throughout history that people have been talking about? And we may actually have been talking about ET or contact this entire time, but it's easy to just say ghost or it's my dead mother.
Well, see, that's what Jacques Vallée writes about in Passport to Magonia. That's what he writes about because he's researched all of that, which is brilliant. I mean, if you study that. Yes, it could be. The only thing is that the group that Ricardo's involved with say they live on a planet in Alpha Centauri. It's called Apu. And their messages have been clear, and they are ecological disaster to the planet. And their messages to him and the other people have been perfectly clear. Unless we do something about the ecology, it's going to do us in. And we're causing a lot of it. So they tell us they predicted 3 hurricanes that we had, I think it was in 2015. They predicted that we would have those, because I've been to the Atacama Desert twice. And the first time was in the valley of the moon, which was all sand dunes. I mean, it was so hard. And that was the message. So I don't think they're there to visit. I don't think they're there to visit anybody or to do anything. They're there. And the story is that when they first appeared, I think it was in the 1970s, to a hydraulic agent, Vlado Kapitanovich, they told him there was going to be an earthquake and people would die to move the people out of Ancash. And he went to the authorities, and they didn't believe him, and sure enough, the earthquake came and killed 45,000 people, and I'm walking on the graves of all these people because we filmed the town, but these beings told them it was going to happen. So what we got to look at is that they are time travelers. They know the possibilities. I'm not going to say what's going to happen because I don't believe anything is cast in stone, but when they told Vlado at the hydraulic plant under that mountain that I was explaining, they gave us a chance to move those people because half the mountain came down in that earthquake. And so when I walked, I was very emotional when I walked over the graves, of all these people. They put a church there, and you could tell that of the devastation that had happened. But I think we're getting warnings, whether you want to do it telepathically, whether you want to do it in dreams, whether you want to do it in messages from ETs and channeling, whatever you want to do. I think we have help from people or beings in high places.
You just brought up channeling, and I wanted to talk about this earlier. When we talk about entanglement or communication or consciousness and the ability to communicate in real time, we talked about the 911 call that you and I would make from Alpha Centauri, right? The channeling part of it I find very, very interesting, especially if it's coming from Alpha Centauri or Zeta Reticuli, where these entities are speaking apparently here, but it's always the same message, right? It's a message about peace and about the future and about our planet. Why would ET be concerned about that? Why couldn't they give us something else, like technology to build a spaceship with, right? Why is it always
Jimmy, I think they've already done that part. It's what we did with it. But, just talk to Colonel Corso. I think that all of the crashes, they've done it. They left the ship here a lot of times. However, I'm not a fan of channeling because I don't know where it's coming from.
Right.
And I don't know, I'm not really a fan of channeling in front of a lot of people because I don't believe you could have aliens on demand. It's like ET's on demand. Show up right here because I'm here. The agenda for extraterrestrial cultures is in their hands. It's not in ours. They show up when they want to show up. And when you say ET, if we're talking about like 57 different brands, they all have different agendas. And the messages are not all the same. I'm only talking about the Apunians because for people who want to read the book, it's Ricardo Gonzalez Messages, Contact from Apu. And it's very clear. It's very precise. They even talked about CERN in Switzerland. It's very precise.
The problem that I have with channeling, and I think some of it is authentic and it is real, but the problem that I have with it is, how do you know it's not deception? Right? How are you able to determine that part?
Well, I'm going to mention Jacques Vallée too now because he has a book called Messengers of Deception.
Right.
I really believe that it's all of it. I think that ETs are playing a game with us. It's a hide-and-seek game. It's like they appear, they disappear. They give you a message, and then they disappear. There is no consistent level of contact walking around. Well, if we talk about the Amichisa case and all that, that's different. Or a giant rock in the 60s, that's different. But I think what's happening now is a cat and mouse game. And I think the reason why they're doing it that way is so we can figure it out ourselves. So we are intelligent enough to figure it out.
Have you ever communicated? You've had your sightings, you've seen things. Have you communicated?
No, communicated, no. I don't do that kind of thing. But what's happened to me is weirdness. For instance, after the stuff in Shasta, my phone used to do Morse code. My television turned on by itself. I went to a bed and breakfast in Crestone. I heard my name called in the middle of the night. I always asked, what do you want? There was never any answer.
Right.
What I do is I connect the dots. I'll take it as super weirdness. Just my phone will dial another phone by itself on the table. It will dial, and then I call the person, and I'm supposed to be doing something with them. That is the kind of stuff that's happening to me. And I think it's directed. I think it's intelligent. but I never get whole messages or, communicate with anything. I don't think I stay still enough. I don't meditate. My mind is never still. I'm always running around crazy, so they don't have a chance to get through me. So they have to do something weird, like turn the TV on, out of the clear blue sky, or do Morse code on my phone.
Yeah, I've never had, with all the sightings, I've never had any, direct communication. And I've seen things. I've been with groups of people. You know this. I've been around massive groups and have had the most amazing experiences, but I've never communicated. I've never had anything telepathically reach out. No, I have not experienced that. I suppose now that I've said it, I've just manifested it. I guess that'll be next, right?
No, that was just what I was going to tell you. Will you put the word yet after it? Yet.
Be
you
careful.
haven't yet. Because I think it's a process. I worked nuts and bolts. I mean, my God, putting pins in maps, and I didn't want to know anything about contact. And I did nuts and bolts for about 15 to 20 years. I didn't want to know anything. And then all at once, I go from that to going to the deserts in Latin America. I mean, who is writing this script?
Right. I'm going to see you in 4 weeks here in Los Angeles for the Conscious Life Expo, and it's going to be amazing. What are you speaking about this year?
Well, I'm speaking about the paranormal, actually, all the weirdness that happened. I'm going to talk about the future and how we can approach ufology. And then I'd like to have on the stage with me Paul Hynek. So, I'd like him to talk about his view of artificial intelligence. I would love to have somebody like Jacques Vallée, who got his PhD in artificial intelligence, and really talks about it too. But Paul is very interested in it. What they're doing with it, they're using it in Hollywood with all the movies. I guess the Avatar 2's coming out, and there's all these movies that they use a lot of AI in there. And he's like a little kid. He's all excited about it. But my talk is all the above and beyond. In other words, all the UFO stuff and beyond the UFO stuff. So to push people into another paradigm.
It's going to be great. I look forward to it. And thank you so much. Everybody can reach out to you directly at starworksusa.com, correct?
Yes, they can. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. Safe travels. We'll break bread, you, Rita, and I, in 3.5 weeks here in Los Angeles. Thank you so much.
Looking forward to it. Thank you.
It's going to be great. And I am going to take a break right here. This is Fade to Black. Thank you, Paula Harris. And again, ConsciousLifeExpo.com, StarWorksUSA.com. Both links are over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. And I'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Thank you, Paola Harris. Great conversation. I'm just watching, the show just flew by. It did. StarWorksUSA.com is the link for Paola, and she has early bird pricing right now for her conference that's coming up in November. I will be there. I am going to speak. I'm going to hang out. It's going to be awesome. So I'll see everybody up there in Laughlin, Nevada. Of course, she will also be at the Conscious Life Expo coming up in 4 weeks. Unbelievable. This is coming up so quick. ConsciousLifeExpo.com. All right, now I've opened up the phone lines, and I want to ask everybody a question. 747-228-2051. I wrote this down 9 minutes ago at 9:22 p.m. If you were watching on the bunker cam, I saw something move to my left. And there's nothing here in the studio, by the way. If you go to the left, you can see it's nothing but a couple of computers. I'll move the camera over. You can see right there. That's what's going on. Okay, I've got there's this camera. There's another camera. That one's in the way. There's computer number one. Behind this camera is another computer. You can see it there. There's a wall. There are guitars, lots of guitars. There's guitars there. There's the little alien statue, a couple more guitars. But this is a corner. There's nothing here, right? That's a wall, right? That's a wall there. There's nothing there. And I saw something, and I reacted to it. And it came from over here. And if you saw it in the bunker cam, you saw me look. And it was like I don't know, like a black flutter. I don't know how to explain it. I freaked out, man. I looked twice to see what that was. Now, if you were looking on the bunker cam, I'm going to go back and watch the video. I have all of this recorded. And I'm going to watch the video after the show tonight. But something fluttered. Did you see anything? If you were watching on the bunker cam, and when you saw me look over and spin, I did it twice because something went. I don't know how to explain. Look. It could have been my imagination, but I certainly looked, and I looked twice. Did you guys see anything in the bunker cam? 747-228-2051. I don't know. Did something flash on the computer screens? And I reacted to that. But there's no lights over here. There's nothing. It's just a corner. That was pretty bizarre. And my heart, I jumped. And I don't know. I even blinked a couple of times to see if it would. But no. Yeah, that was kind of weird. I'm still kind of tripping. I don't know. Did you see anything in the bunker cam? 747-228-2051. And it was right at the point of the show where we were talking about manifestations and portals and could this be ghost? And as I'm asking this question, I don't know how. That's what it felt like to me. And Rita's going, Jimmy, stop. I'm going to hear. All I know is I reacted to it, and I did it twice. And I was thinking it was going to pop up in Twitter. Did you see that? And did anybody, I'm reading Twitter now, did anybody see anything in this direction? Was there a shadow? Yeah, nothing's moved. Kevin says he didn't see anything. All right, that's making me feel a little better. So then what you're saying is I imagined it? I'd rather have you say there was something there. Don't tell me it was my imagination. That was pretty trippy. It was pretty cool. And when I looked, and I know that you guys can see me on the bunker cam, so you guys are watching me. So when I looked, and I looked back to the bunker cam, I'm thinking to myself, everybody's watching me hallucinate, right? Maybe it was an eye floater. Okay, I get that. But you guys are going to watch me react to this, and I didn't want to look. I was trying to be smooth, I guess. I didn't want to overreact. But, yeah, nobody saw anything. So, hey, I'm going to go back and I'm going to watch the video. Do you guys have the ability on the bunker cam? I don't even know. Can you rewind the bunker cam? Am I on mushrooms? Man, that's been 30 years. I have no idea. I would hate to. Oh, man. See, my fear with anything like that, and that includes DMT or ayahuasca or anything that everybody seems to be doing today, is that at my age, I might not come back. When you're young, you can rebound. But no, I don't do any of that fun stuff today. But yeah, so can you rewind the bunker cam? I I haven't been on the bunker cam in probably a year or two, so I don't even know if we have. Do you have the ability to fast forward and rewind? Can you go back to? And I wrote it down. I wrote it down when it happened. I literally said, "Look, that's what I wrote. That's what I wrote." And I looked at the clock, and I wrote, "Saw something to my right at 9:22 p.m." And I wrote it really fast. Yeah. It fluttered. I can't even say it. Fluttered. It fluttered. Brian says you have no controls there on the bunker cam, so you can't rewind it? Okay. All right, well, I'm going to look at the videotape. I want to see what I reacted to. But it was definitely, something there. And Sabrina just says, my internet just went bonkers. Lost my connection. No, Jimmy, you cannot rewind it anymore. Okay. Oh, so you could rewind it in the past? See, I don't know these things. I'll have to talk to Drew. But having the ability to rewind with something like this for all of you is pretty cool. It doesn't happen often in the bunker. It's, in fact, it's never happened. The only other weird thing, 747-228-2051. I hope the phone lines are on. I'm going to check that now, is the earthquake. I remember that. I remember when the earthquake happened live on the air, and we lost power for a second. That was pretty trippy. That was a long time ago. Other than that, the bunker's been pretty stable over the years. And now we've got, and the other thing that happened during the earthquake was we lost power. I don't think we lost the internet, right? The Ethernet was still running. Computers went down. Now I've got everything on battery backup, and we're good for, I think, about 30 minutes or so if we do have a power outage. So the show will continue. But that's the only other weird thing that happened in the bunker. That's why I'm pretty quick with screenshots. Yeah, okay, this is what I'm asking everybody. When you saw me react, I'm asking, did you see anything to my right, which is this direction, which I don't know, is that your left? Was there anything at the same time? It was pretty weird. Okay, all right, 747-228-2051. I am going to check the phone lines to make sure that they're open. 747-228-2051. And yes, it appears that I have had them shut off. Rita just said, something tells me you're safe. Okay, that's good. Okay. Phone lines are open. 747-228-2051. I want to go back and speak about what I was ranting on earlier tonight, which is, and it was funny how the conversation went this direction with Rita says there was nothing to the right, left, above, or below. Okay, I'm going to look at the videotape. I want to know. I guess Rita went back and reviewed the footage. It fluttered, whatever it was. Okay, going back to my point that I made earlier tonight. It's a very simple one. It's very simple. As complex as it may sound on the surface, that if from the future, looking back to now, to this point in history, this is the turning of events. This is a turning point. This is where things have headed into a new direction. And if we have a timeline, and we can go and look at all the timelines, the significant events in human history, and you can go and look at these specific events, the Wright brothers, Kitty Hawk, the landing on the moon, the building of the Great Pyramid, Jesus, Year Zero, Cleopatra, whatever. You see these significant events on those timelines. Well, if you go from Göbekli Tepe to today, that's 13,000 years. And it seems like a big chunk of time, and we can isolate all these significant events. But if you push all of this to the future, how? And I'm talking about 1 million years, 50,000 years in the future, 100,000 years in the future, 1,000,000 years in the future. We are ancient man. That's how they are going to look at us. Ancient man. And that is when we went from the Dark Ages. That's when we went from the Stone Age into modern times, is the year 2020. And they're not going to talk about all those other things that we are looking at as significant today, because on that type of timeline, that dot for 2020 is going to encompass everything. They're not going to be concerned with Galileo or the Wright brothers. It's all one thing, where we came out of the Dark Ages and went into modern civilization and technology. And it's the only way to look at it. There is no other way. And we are at that point in history. We are at the beginning of it. We're at the very beginning. The last 100 years has been that significant. It's been the grand change for humanity, and we are here to live it. Let's go to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, Jimmy, the Wicked Ranger in Staten Island.
Hi, how are you?
How you doing? Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Everything good?
Things are coming along there, Jimmy. Enjoying the show. I haven't checked in for a while. I thought I'd give you a call.
What did you think of the conversation tonight?
Oh, she was cool. You know, she's with it. You know, she's there, and it's all good.
Well, see, this is, and the reason why I'm asking is that Paola has been researching and been a part of this community since 1979. That's 4 decades.
Okay.
That's 4 decades. Right? And her knowledge, she has interviewed and been with witnesses from just about all of the continents, military, private sector, contactees, abductees, pilots, witnesses. She's been around it all, right? And
I'm sorry.
And when you hear from somebody like that, and it's rare, right? Somebody that has been around for 4 decades, all the way back to J. Allen Hynek, you know, and going through all of this, it's important to hear from her and take her perspective, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I was interested in the Italy thing with your contact and hanging out for a few years, you know, with us and all that. I find that fascinating.
And why do you think it is? You know, I asked Paola this earlier, but why is it that you can go to any other country, and they are going to be open about it? The governments, the military, people on the street are open to the UFO subject. But here in the United States, it seems like we're in lockdown. What's the difference with the cultures around the world? Why are they open about it and we are not? What's going on?
I'm not specifically sure. I know in Europe they're a lot more open, especially to the young people. Like there's even like a pagan type Celtic music movement amongst the young people in Europe as well, which I find interesting as well. I'm into that myself. So yeah, there's for some reason they seem to be more enlightened overseas for some weird reason. I don't know why. There's some type of suppression going on here.
And I, you know, and I'm specifically talking about the military. I remember talking to Leslie Kane about this, where her focus, well, it's changed lately because of TTSA and the Pentagon, but her focus was always going down to Chile, Argentina, Brazil, and meeting with the military and the Air Force and the Navy and speaking about this because they were open. They would let her come in and sit down and talk to the military about this, but that doesn't go down here in the United States.
When you say military, it's an interesting thought. Now, maybe we're being all herded maybe to serve like dumb, let's say, military drones. You know, we want to be not too much information, just what we need, in order to go out and do what they want us to do. Maybe, who knows?
Yeah, I agree with you, Joe. It's very interesting. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for the phone call. We'll see you tomorrow night right here.
Well, you take care there, brother. You hang in there, all right?
Right on. Thank you, Joe. Go Beckley Tepe. And speaking about Brazil, there was an island off the coast of Brazil that and a beach that had the craziest couple of years of contact. Military rolls into town, they videotape, they document, they talk about it. Our military doesn't do that, right? And certainly wouldn't talk about it and bring in a team of investigators to live amongst everybody and go through this. We're like the only country that doesn't do that. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, this is Matt from Winnipeg, Manitoba. How's it going there, buddy?
Hey, Matt. How you doing, man?
Oh, not bad, not bad. Just every single time I listen to your show, there's always something more insightful in it, I'm telling you.
I love my job. Can you get me off speaker, Matt?
Oh, sure thing. Sorry about that. Give me a second here. There we go.
Yeah,
how's it going?
Much better for the audience. I was listening to the last couple of nights. Funny that you called in. I didn't bring this up earlier, but I was listening to a couple of physicists a couple of nights in a row talk about the definitions of quantum theory and quantum mechanics, right? Quantum physics, and there is. One of the most interesting statements, so profound, that is made about quantum physics is this. Now, talk about science fiction, right? Talk about the weirdness of it all. The craziest science fiction movie that you can think of is not as crazy as this statement from a physicist, which is, once you observe something, once you observe it, you immediately, it goes into multiple universes and multiple worlds and is existing in different states at the same time. Now, and this is part of quantum physics. This is part of the math. This is what they believe. That's the craziest statement anybody could make, right? Imagine if I just went up to anybody and said, as soon as I look at you, there are now infinite versions of you existing. As soon as I look at you, there are now millions of you. Now, right?
Absolutely. I can see it right now. Like, I can see in my head, if I'm sitting there laying down on the floor staring at the ceiling right now, I can see all possible. There's like millions of options that this basic conversation can go down right now.
That's right.
As we speak.
That's right.
You know, it's just like in The Matrix. You know, where that guy talks to the great architect, and you see them. You know, all the different versions of Neo when they walk around in a television show, eh? And they zoom into one, and that was one of the options that they pick. It's literally like that.
Right.
It's literally like that. And, you know, it makes sense to me, you know, the way D-Wave works, you know, you just can't have that. I don't know, like, I keep arguing with a lot of other people that take physics and stuff. I'm like, I'm sorry, buddy, but this technology just can't work unless you accept some of this, you know?
That's it. There is no other way. See, I'm holding up to the camera a pen cap, and I'm holding it up in my left hand.
Okay.
Right now, as I do that, there is another version of me that held it up in my right hand. And that is quantum physics. Right there.
There's also another version of you that didn't hold it up at all.
That didn't hold it up at all.
Yeah, another version of you that maybe grabbed two pens.
Yes.
No, there's another version of you that's never even had me not even call in at all.
And it's crazy. The math says it is so. The equations say that this is how it is. And there are physicists walking around on this planet right now that speak this language, and it's crazy town to everybody else. But this is what they do. This is what they study.
Yeah, and I've gone into a lot of fights with a lot of physicists too, believe it or not, that are young ones, that say, I don't believe any of this. It can't happen because you can't prove it. And I'm like, well, you want to look at proof, look at your own technology that you're working with. Explain to me how some of this stuff can work the way that it does and be invented in the way that it was. You just can't have it both ways.
You can't. You can't. Once this is the most insane part about all of it, physics and science and quantum physics, quantum mechanics, quantum theory, however you want to look at it. Once they assemble the final, and certainly with observation and lab experiments, but once they assemble the math and the equations that get to quantum measurement and are able to show that all of this is an actual reality, that is the shift on this planet. That is when everybody here goes into another direction. All of it, everything. Every single science fiction, crazy movie, teenagers from outer space, all of that is real. Right? I mean, everything changes on that day, and we're getting close.
Mm-hmm. You know what's also is really interesting that you should mention that one big statement. I just had a conversation with one of my buddies, I guess I talked to through IRC and things, and we talked about, listen, this is definitely a simulated reality. Like you can't get around it. And it's like, okay, so what would be the proof or what would be the evidence of it? And I'm like, well, before you could go into the evidence, you must first understand why. Like for instance, I describe this. I work with a software called Multisim and Ultiboard. These are softwares designed to make circuit boards and make circuits. And I can put millions of dollars worth of circuitry in a computer program and screw it right up and make it all go haywire and make it all catch fire, and then there's some, rather than go out and get the money to buy all the components and build it and see what happens then. Mm-hmm. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my experience of what I've learned in that virtual reality, and I am applying its successes and failure into this reality so that I can apply this technology in a better, more efficient way. So if you look at what we are, if this is a simulated reality, then we would have to be taking the experience of being a human and applying it to another level somewhere else. So why can I say this? Well, there's so many different pieces of evidence that seem to point to this. Like, for instance, I can rip out an atom of hydrogen, rip out its electron, and the universe seems to want to correct it, just like a computer. Mm-hmm. There's ones and zeros, and like if you look at all the atoms in the universe, it looks like there's something there or there's something not. It looks like binary. Now, if you go back to the whole, what I said with the error correction, well, that's how TCP/IP works, with the internet connection for your computer. Somewhere along the way, if I'm here to look at the bunker cam, that there's going to be damaged packets that go all the way to California, and the computer has to choose whether to destroy the packet and request a new one, right, or figure out a way to introduce repair.
That's right.
And then one other thing that really, and that's not even the strange thing yet. I explained, what about the frequencies in vacuum that seem to match the exact same electrical harmonics as your mind when you achieve a REM sleep pattern? Somewhere along there, it looks like there's some sort of subconscious information exchange into some sort of cloud. And you can't deny that because it's right there.
Fascinating. Yeah, fascinating. And the other part about this, I've only got 15 seconds left, Matt, and I want to thank you for the phone call, but is that if we were able to go from one of these realities to another, could we come back? And the answer is no. There's too many. It's infinite, right? You can jump. And the reality is so close to the one that you just left, you wouldn't even know if you made the jump. You wouldn't know if you swapped realities, and you wouldn't be able to look back. The new reality is the same reality as the one you left. You wouldn't notice the difference. You're just in a new experience, one where I held the pen cap with the right hand instead of the left. But in that reality, it was in the right hand and not the left. And I wouldn't know the difference. And going back wouldn't make a difference. And that's the fascinating part for me. Matt, thank you so much, man. And we'll see you tomorrow night.
No problem. Go back, Lee Tepe, buddy.
Go back, Lee Tepe. That's what I'm talking about. Let's get out of here. Tomorrow night right here on Fade to Black, the return of Micah Hanks. I cannot wait for tomorrow night. It's going to be a great conversation. Fade to Black's executive producer is Rita Camarion. Shows produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitola, Mark D. Kovar. Webmasters, Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intros, Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. Syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2020 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Until tomorrow night with Micah Hanks, everybody be safe. Go back, Lee Tepe.